So I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to do this air conditioning. I've got the pump over there. I'm going to have to solder some adapters onto it and then run soft copper piping to various things, including the receiver dryer and condenser and evaporator and all that. So this is the condenser side, which will go under the car. So between one of the front support mid frame rails and the center of the car, I'll show you in a minute. But this is basically a Perma-cool oil cooler that I'm adapting to be a condenser, and you'll use exactly the same unit for the evaporator. Some 1-inch by 6-inch fans, so that and these are waterproof fans. So this will mount blowing air through them with a spacer between here, this and the floorboards of about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. So it'll be sitting there inside the car, and fairly close to the exhaust system. I'll have a little heat shield to keep the heat from the exhaust away from it, and this should do the trick. And I'm sending, I'm fiddling around with badges and colors. So I'm sending Parasol an example of the red that I want for the so they can color code the GTI red, Mark 1 red in their Very Bond plastic paint, and then I can start using a rubber roller, very carefully dipping it in the paint and rolling it on the surfaces of the grille, the front grille, and these badges to get them all exactly the same color. The other thing, I'm going to have to get the vacuum ports and our 134A filler ports for the refrigerant figured out as well, and I have to do transition between these, what they call female O-ring fittings, as well. So lots of things to fiddle with, and trying to get adapters, and it's driving me crazy, but I'll slowly figure it out. So this is just loosely set in place, but this is the same 7-inch by 1.5 by 14-inch oil clear that I'm going to adapt for the evaporator unit. So it's going to basically, I'm going to use a combination of adhesive, Velcro, and blocks of stiff foam to mount this stuff rather than bolting it in place. A couple reasons for it, but one is I want the ease of removal, and this thing only weighs about 1 pound. It's like made out of aluminum. It's super lightweight. So basically the air gets drawn in on the other side, so the box, it's hard to see, but move over here a little bit. This is going to be sitting up a little higher, but basically the air is going to get drawn in the top, go into a box, and get sucked into the blower and down. As I said before, a little mini compressor sits in this area here, because I've got an air filter assembly and stuff at the front that draws into the intake system here. So basically, you got a compressor here, and then it's going to run under the car, and sorry, everything's a fucking mess right now, but basically just inside this rail here, the support, so you can't see this support, so in between there and the exhaust system, there's an area here that I'm going to bolt the condenser and the fans. And if you actually look from a height perspective, it'll clear. The exhaust system was no lower or higher than the it's gonna be roughly the same height as the resonator there, in terms of clearance to the road surface. So it should be fine. It should, with a bit of a heat shield, it should stay cool enough and draw in cool air from under the car. And anyway, fiddle around. I got lots more connectors and things to sort out, but that's the air conditioning discussion for the day. So I'm working on a new crankcase venting solution. The front of the ABA block has the plastic housing that is right behind the crankshaft, that sort of a splash guard for the oil. And I had mounted this K&N filter right on the that plastic opening, and unfortunately oil was splashing through into this and dripping off of this and making a bit of a mess in the engine compartment. So what now happens with this is comes out, actually it's upside down, but basically there's a coupling, silicone rubber coupling, and then this kind of comes out the side. I'll show you how this is installed. I'm just tacking this stainless pipe up, making sure it fits. It's in a weird shape, but it has to be to route around things, and then the oil will not get all over the engine anymore. This is my my bandsaw, little mini bandsaw. It's awesome for cutting pipe, stainless pipe and stuff, and then the belt sander for smoothing everything out. And let's see how I'm doing it here, but basically this, get down low, the pipe runs underneath, and then way down inside there it connects through a coupling. So now you remember I got the intake system runs through here. So this is a kind of the best I can do. It doesn't look that bad. I think it should be fine. It's a bit odd having it stick out, but I have to have the breather somewhere. It has to be up fairly high. Oil kind of can travel up the pipe to a degree, but then it's got a slope. It'll drain back down. So if there's oil vapor and other stuff. And by the way, I am definitely not keen on the traditional OEM way of connecting it in through a crankcase ventilation valve into the intake system. I do not want oil and sludge getting into my vacuum system and into the runners and the intake valves. I'm just gonna break the law on this one because it just makes such a fucking mess of the engine for very little environmental gain. So yeah, there we go. That's my setup. Yeah, so this turned out great. Got these Skookum clamps. Anyway, so that goes to the breather, and this sits in the front of the engine like this. So yeah, I got all the welds ground and polished it all, so it kind of looks like one complicated little tube. Anyway, I'm going to put it in now. Well, this is looking down in the engine. You can see it works perfectly. It has to get between so many things. You've got all the intake runners and all of the plumbing that goes between them, vacuum lines and nitrous lines and fuel pressure regulators and or fuel pressure monitors, sensors, and oil, etc. And throttle cables and fuel lines, and it works. So I think it's going to be fine. It's going to look okay after all this. Busy in the front of that engine compartment, that's for sure. Okay, this is where the tricky part is. So I'm putting the woofer here, and the woofer's got to have a little bit of a standoff. I'm either going to trim this down, this spacer, just because the woofer has to sit back a little bit from the metal edge here. And then I'm going to, this is where it gets tricky. First of all, this is all loose. I got to put in a new elastic in this. Not too much work, but got to do it. And second thing is I'm going to have to, I'm going to use a leather punch, and I'm going to punch a pattern of round holes in this area. I've decided I'm doing that. And I'm going to cut away the wood, or the crash bang boom. I'm going to cut away a circle of the supporting material at the back, and then I'm going to put some type of a mesh in to support this. I have to figure this out. But basically, because there's padding here, and I don't want this to collapse, so I have to figure out a way of getting it acoustically this properly done. And then once all this is cut and everything, new elastics put in, I'm going to recolor it. And it's not a huge difference in color from the new, the final color that I've chosen, which is this. This piece has already been colored. It's just a little less blue, a little bit grayer blue. This is more of a sort of a royal blue. As I said, you have to look at all these different color samples and kind of hem and haw and say, well, this is the one I'm going for. So anyway, I'm starting to work on this now. I've been dreading this, but once I tackle this successfully, then I will be on my way to getting the doors fully assembled, and then you know, putting them on the car. So this is the Hertz 6.5 inch woofer, really nice woofers, and yeah, they fit beautifully here, right? They're going to be, so I just need to get that spacer, and then I can drill and mount them exactly, so I'm moving around, but exactly just sort of in this position right there. And then I can, what was the other thing I was going to show you? Yeah, I'm going to take the regulator mechanism. I'm going to go find where I've hidden them. But the regulator mechanism kind of comes down and loops around here. And I'm going to cut off the tube, the metal guide tube, and I'm going to let the regulator mechanism, or the coil, go through a piece of clear plastic tubing that I can move above and around this section here, or maybe even a little bit more tighter. I think I can take it this way above, so the regulator mechanism, I think, is here, and then it'll go, instead of going down and looping like this, it's going to either turn tighter or it's going to go around this way. I'll figure it out, but basically I don't need to stress about that too much. I'll get the speaker mounted and then build the regular mechanism around the speaker is how I'm going to approach this. Changed my mind. I'm going to have 4 3/4 inch standoffs, or like spacers, that I can then maybe I'll use threaded ones, and I can thread them in from the top and then mount from the back, or I'll figure it out. But basically the idea is going to be that I'll have 4 posts basically holding this in, and then I will put a high density foam, like sealed foam, for window sealing, this kind of thing, around the outside of the cone, just so that it's acoustically sealed front to back. But I'm not going to use the rings. The rings don't, it's really hard to get them to sit flat on the surface. It's not an even surface, and I think the standoffs will work better than these rings. Going for a little bit of a wide angle here just to get everything in. Yeah, so this is kind of how the regulator runs through the speaker, and I might try to just bend this material and see if it'll cooperate rather than pinch the spring mechanism. But it's going to have to go out. It's going to turn and go around the speaker. And if that doesn't work, cut it and then run it into a plastic tube that's a bit more flexible, which I like that idea better than the metal. But I'll fiddle with it a bit here and see what I decide. So yeah, it works. So I hacked off, or carefully cut off, the tube piece that runs along here, and 5/16 ID rubber hose goes over the exterior and then allows it to take a flexible shape around the base, and that solves my lifter interference problem. So yeah, I got the spacers, the standoffs, the 3/4 inch standoffs, and it's a nice button head, Allen head button shaped screws, low profile, to mount the speaker to, and I've got the closed cell foam to build a gasket around the inside of the speaker. And And so this is good. Now I'm also experimenting with punching holes in the vinyl. I'll show you that in a sec. Alright. Hollow punches. That's the weaponry here. Sorry, wrong end. And I'm just going to build a little paper template and practice my destruction technique, and then attack the door cards. Famous last words. Well, my neighbor's alarm is going off. About a block away, it looks like. The back of this, I'm sanding off the old, I guess, wax coating. Normally, what happens is there's plastic that's attached to the metal frame of the door, and then that's supposed to protect the wood here, or this particle board on the back of these door cards, from getting moisture ingress and warping. But the passenger side door here, I'll show you. Anyway, I've sanded all this crap off, making a bit of a mess here, but basically you can see it's warped at the bottom. The driver's side door isn't, but this one is. So what I'm doing is I'm starting a process here of straightening it out. And the way I'm going to straighten it out is, first of all, get rid of the remaining moisture protection. Then I'm going to wet it and get the material, the moisture content higher. And then I'm going to press it flat and let it dry. And I should be able to get it pretty much the way I want it. It's have to be careful, but don't want it to be warped either. So got to solve this problem. So I'm going to I'm sort of wetting it down now, and then I'm going to steam it, and then I'm going to press it. So that's my strategy here for straightening this thing out. Well, I got the moisture into it, got it heated up with the iron as well, which helped soften it, and then I laid some sheets, 3/4 inch blocks underneath, and then piled all this weight on top to flatten it, and then went around and tweaked and tweaked and tweaked until I got everything looking flat. Now it has to sit here, obviously, and dry, and that'll be great to see it if it works out. Yeah, so this technique is working. I've got a pattern that I did on the computer, just used PowerPoint and Mac, and then they've been punching out holes, and just a little section at the bottom, and I peeled the paper back to double check, and it actually looks fantastic. So I'll finish knocking all these out, and then I'll show you what it looks like, and then I have to start cutting away some of the material on the back and then reinforcing it. But I think this is actually going to look really sweet, so I'm starting to get confident here. Well, it's actually quite tedious doing this. The question is, now that I've pounded them all out, is there anything ugly underneath here? This is a great reveal. It's like, did I wreck the door card or not? And the answer is no, I didn't wreck it. A couple of things need to still be pulled out, but you're not really going to be able to, like, once these little bits are out of the way, there'll be a little bit of a, will you see it? Yeah, you'll sort of see it. But, don't worry about it, because it needs to be cleaned up and properly finished off, but, it's going to look pretty OEM to me. I'm going to keep the black foam in behind so that it's going to look clean, I think. Anyway, there you go. I've been worrying about this for months, and looks like this is going to be fine after all. So this is working out really well. I had this drying all night, and it's pretty much dried up. I put those towels in there to help wick out the moisture between the foam. I'm developing a technique here for cutting out the back section. using a little Dremel cutting wheel, just trying different things, but score the edges. I'm trying to make a cross pattern so that the chrome trim is supported here. And then this, I've already cut all this out, so this is the foam. Don't want to cut through the foam, obviously. It'd be bad. Yeah, so I think the technique I'm going to end up using, because I was just trying to use this Dremel, basically routing it out. So you fix the depth and then you route it out. You know, this material is soft and it tends to just throw up rough edges. So I get a cleaner cut with the cutoff saw. So I'm going to run sharp edges about halfway in, depth-wise, just to sort of clean the edges off, and then route it out, and then I can sort of sand and feather the edges afterwards. Not that you're ever going to see it hidden back here, but I want it to look nice in case I ever take the panel off and go, oh, you know, you weren't such a moron when you did this. Anyway, so making progress. I think I can declare success. So this pattern of holes is exactly the way I wanted it. And then I'm going to I've cut the back out. It's the routing plus the cutting wheel worked. Gotta be careful, obviously. I'm going to replace that foam at the back and reinforce the area a little bit, but make sure it's acoustically as transparent as possible. And then I think we're good on this. I just got to paint it, and the chrome is a bit washed out here, so I'm going to have a little bit of chrome spray, and I will clean up this area here. I think we'll see. I'll do some touch up and see if it actually works. New elastic in here, and then this is ready to reassemble, I think. And the other one is, as I said, drying out, so it's good. So yeah.